What is up, YouTube? McIntyre here. Today video we're going to be talking about the new balance patch, April 17th, for Heroes of the Storm. After the death of Heroes of the Storm, looks like the developers are still out here adding new things, changing things up. And today on HeroesHearth's channel, we're going to be talking about all those changes, give you my kind of opinion on them, just a general patch breakdown. So there's a few things that they've done. The first one that we talked about a little bit earlier today, and I want you guys' opinion in the comment section below about this. They have now removed party restrictions during the matchmaking process, and you no longer see the enemy's team's parties, if that makes sense. So before, if you were against 5 people, you would see that, you know, they each have that little party symbol, they'd all be the same color, and you know you were against a 5 stack, right? Now you go into the game immediately, okay, we're against a 5 stack, good thing I'm playing solo, right? They've removed that, and there's no longer a party restriction no matter what type of game you're playing. So this is a good side to this, that party restriction during the matchmaking process. That essentially means that they don't care anymore about, you know, 5 stacks versus 5 solos. They don't care that, you know, they want to put a 2 and a 3 versus a 2 and a 3. They could put a 2 and a 3 versus a 4 and a 1. It basically makes the restrictions of matchmaking a bit more lenient, and thus the games are going to pop faster. But you may be against a 5 stack as a bunch of solos, but you won't know. So in the comment section below, I really want to know how you guys feel about that change. For me personally, it's kind of a little unnecessary, but I think at the end of the day, mentally, if you don't know the other team is a 5 stack, you might go into the game differently, right? And you might play differently, play more confidently. So the knowledge is not necessarily needed, and honestly will help. It's a little annoying because now it's like, oh, you can't complain anymore that the other team's just 5 stacks and you're playing solos, right? You don't get that luxury, but at the same time, mentally, it might be more relaxing for you. So for me, the more I think about it, I think it's an okay change. And most MOBAs don't have show your queue, who's duo, who's what. So them removing it, for me, I don't think it changes much. And, you know, the fact that the restrictions have been looser and are non-existent now actually means that you should be getting games more often, which is a good thing. I think with the player base being so spread out, it's a nice change. But I want you guys to give me your opinions on it. How do you feel about it? Is it dumb? Is it good? And, you know, how do you feel about now that there's no longer a restriction on the matchmaker? So the next thing that they talk about here is, as you can see, tons of changes to tons of different characters. At first I was like, holy, I think there's like 30 plus changes here. And then you scroll down a little bit and there's a developer comment that talks about mana and how we feel about mana going forward. So we'll read these 3 little bullets here. The first is, mana should be a meaningful part of the game, particularly in the early stages when wave clear is at the higher premium. We believe as the game progresses, mana tension should become less important as heroes gain more base mana and the game focus shifts to team fighting. So basically, characters that are very strong at wave clearing early, they want to make you feel that mana being used on the wave. And then in the late game, who cares, right? You should be going to a team fight full mana, whatever the case. Mana tension doesn't have to be the same for every hero, but every hero should feel it to some degree. Otherwise, it serves no purpose. I think this comment is a little lackluster because there are characters that literally can push buttons on cooldown and almost never have mana issues. Whereas, you know, there's some OG characters, some characters that were in the game from the beginning, like Tyrael comes to mind, who have just had disgusting mana problems forever, and you've always felt those mana issues. So I mean, I'm glad that they're aware of it, but you know, let's actually see it with these changes. And then the third is, we like that some talents heavily mitigate mana tension, and this would be like Arcane Intellect on Jaina at level 4, right? Whenever you deal damage to chill targets, you get mana. You basically have no mana issues with it. So there are 3 things that they're going over here, and it's good that they're looking at them now. Mana has been a thing that's interesting with heroes, so I like that, and a lot of this patch is going to be based around that. When we took a look at mana tension in the game, we saw that overall things are in a fairly healthy spot, but could be fine-tuned and improved. we like the tension that the heroes who are closer to the middle of the spectrum have, like Malfurion, Tychus, and etc. Which is true. On these characters, if you just spam your abilities, you will go but if you're full mana going into a fight, you're typically pretty alright. Their goal with these changes is to bring the outliers closer to the center. So Tyrael should be changed, right? Blizzard, right? Now let's look at the actual hero changes. We start with the tanks. Anubarak, basic attack damage nerf. This reduces that level 13 talent. Impale damage reduced by 5. Burrow charge damage reduced by 5. Looks as though Anub is just probably doing too much damage as a tank. And a lot of his damage is AoE too, even. So this affects his wave clear. This affects his team fight damage. We have 2 talent nerfs. So Legion of Beetle is the one that gave the Beetles, I believe, spell armor. They've reduced that, so the Beetles were probably too tanky. It also spits the Beetles out, so there's even more Beetles to deal with. And then a Cocoon nerf, 10 seconds on Cocoon. One change that I really would want to see out of that is I think the health on the Cocoon needs to be a little less. Because if you have a composition that can't deal with it, then you have no chance against it. So for me, I like the change a lot. 10 seconds on Cocoon. It's such an amazing, amazing ultimate heroic. So, you know, the fact that they touched it up a little bit is nice, but yeah, I think, you know, you need the Liming, you need the Tychus, you need the, you know, there's so many, the Tassadar, right? These are what break Cocoons fast, and if you don't have those, then it's fairly difficult, and, you know, winning 4v5s is not an easy task. So here we see Arthas. Here's some of the mana tension that we talk about. Frozen Tempest, they just reduced the mana by 2 from it, and in doing so, they took the 2 mana that you would get from the level 4 talent and took that away and put it into that base. This basically means you don't have to go the Frozen Waste at 4. You can go Q at 4. There's a couple other talents you can take it for now because of that. I still think that Arthas' main issue is always going to be that if his E's not running, then he's not running. It's kind of like his gas, his fuel. So it's interesting. I mean, there's not really a buff there, right? It's just the change. It's allowing a little more flexibility on his level 4 talent. I don't see much of a change here, but, you know, we could see the Death Coil more often at 4 because of it. So Diablo, we got a mana increase here, right? Every time he casts W. This makes it so W doesn't feel free to cast. 10 mana on Q on Garrosh. That's way more mana, right? 33% increase. So, again, just all the spam abilities. 5 here on Slam. Any of the abilities that a lot of heroes just seem to be spamming and getting away with it, those are the ones that they've touched up on. So we got some talent changes here from the Haka. His Enduring W at 1 now increases the Dark Swarm by 0.5, so you get a little longer on your W with the talent, which is decent. I think this is the talent that gives you spell armor. It looks as if, you know, as I continue to look past, you know, this 13 talent W, looks like they're trying to create a W build for Dahaka, which is not a bad thing, especially if you're not very good at landing the tongue or at auto attacking at level 7 to get the battle momentum on the tongue. But I don't think that it's going to be the superior build of the two. Level 4 Lurker Strain, they got CDR on Burrow, so that's decent. You know, that E talent can be used aggressively. You knock people away, you go invisible. You can look for picks with it, right? You can E out of a brush, so you're invis, and then maybe get a tongue. So it's not too bad. This one I like a lot. They've reduced the mana of isolation, so a lot of times you just go on Dahaka and you're not able to ISO. 30 mana is decent, right? That's like 1 W worth of mana. And then we have an adaptation buff, actually, mana reduction and cooldown reduction. So just nice value. I'm not really sure why they're buffing Dahaka. I think he's still one of the most imbalanced characters in the game. So it's interesting to see buffs, but they want, as you can see here now, level 13 Stalker. Additional functionality now causes Darkstorm to slow enemy heroes by 15% for 0.75 while Brush Stalker movement speed bonus is active. So it makes it easier for players who can't tongue as much, right? Now you can slow them with your W and then you land the tongue, right? So pretty cool, I guess. I mean, talent diversity is always nice. And in some cases, maybe you want the spell armor, you know, at level 1. So we have some little alterations to Impious as well. Mana reduction on his W. I guess this is his spam ability. This is kind of anti to what they just did with the Stitches, but I guess we're taking 30 mana cost to 35. Whereas here we're taking a spammable button, right? a 60 mana where you're going to be casting your W a lot on Impious, reducing it by 10. I mean, they could have made this 40, I think, or even 45. They wanted to be in line with the other tanks, but I guess for some reason Impious's W is better. So that's interesting. And we have Molten Armor at 75. So they want to make this a heavy emphasis button. If you're pushing it, they want you to feel that you've pushed it. So we'll keep people from eating the wave. Not that people were before, but it's not a button that you want to be pushing a lot with that mana cost. At level 1, they've gotten rid of the talent completely, so you just do more damage with your W. This could be why they didn't reduce its mana so much. Impious gains bonus damage and slow when the talent, I think, hits the center. So pretty cool. Bulwark. Physical armor increases from 70 to 75. Maximum charges increases from 4 to 6. I believe this is just a block talent on your W. If you hit it, I want to say you get blocks, so you get more charges of that. It's pretty cool. But at level 4, the heal talent on Mark is really powerful, and that's why they're buffing these other two. So Unshakable Faith no longer requires you to remove a disabling effect in order for Impious to be healed, and you heal for 200 every time you push the. So that is, I think, goes hand to hand with this talent as well. If it was 50 mana, you could just cool down and heal so much. But the 4 talents are definitely to contest the fact that heal at 4, when you proc your passive marks, it is just super powerful, and I still don't think you're going to take these over it. We have a nerf to the CDR on Holy Feather, which kind of sucks. It was a pretty heavy CD. So they're definitely, again, they're trying to get us to take other talents to weaken his wave clear, probably. And we have an increase in damage on Flashbanger. It's only 18. Not too crazy. So this Mathiel change is very interesting. Tormented Souls now resets the cooldown of your Wraith Strike, and when it expires, you get a cooldown on the Wraith Strike. So I think this is pretty neat. Essentially means, you land your E on Mathiel, or maybe you auto attack the tank, and then you W into him, and you hit your Tormented Souls, and now you can W again, which is good for 2 reasons. It gets you on a certain character, right, that maybe you've now tormented, and it also dodges abilities, so it's a quick response. It's like blinking in a Zeratul and then blinking out really quickly. Maybe the ETC slides and misses you. Maybe the Hanzo arrow misses. Maybe you dodge a Sylvanas Silence, right? It gives you a little more mobility. And then at the tail end of it, after you've killed a lot of people, or you're so close to killing them, the Tormented will fall off, and then you'll get another one so you can chase after. Pretty cool. Might see more Tormented Souls because of it, and it adds a little more functionality to this ability outside of just put your passive on people, which is basically what it is now. So pretty cool. They've adjusted Rexar's talents, so they just changed the order of the talents. And then Easy Prey bonus damage no longer applies to Misha's charge. Bonus damage to minions and mercenaries increased. It basically, they just tuned back the fact that they buffed Misha's charge. They needed it to not deal so much because it dealt a lot with Easy Prey. Interesting. So we have a Varian nerf, Twin Blades specifically. Parry costs more mana, so this is one that you definitely can't just cast off cooldown. You're gonna have to think more about using your W here. And we have a High King's Quest, 15 damage out of 45. So you're only 2-part. That's pretty. That's a 33% damage decrease. So yeah, I think it's gonna be interesting, especially when you think about how much power spike you get from that. Because this is from the completion of the quest, obviously. It's not gonna kill Twin Blade Variant, but it basically will make him so he's not just stomping out low levels, or if the other team doesn't have a way to deal with him. We also have the Lion's Maul. They got a little buff to it. I think they're like, hey, we took away 15 damage, now we'll give you 1. Smile. And we'll make it a bit easier. Smile. We might see more Lion's Maul, but High Kings is like on Taunt Variant, we might see more Lion's Maul because of this. But High Kings, even on Taunt Variant, is just so powerful. They're trying to just take a little bit away. We have some mana reduction here. Reaper's Toll. I think this is the one that maybe makes your Q CDR lower, right? So now it takes less to do that, 16 hits, which is still an absurd amount of Q hits. I think this should be like a 10 Q. You're not going to finish this until late in the game, maybe like level 16, and you're getting some mana reduction on your Q. That's interesting. So this was a cool talent change too, but not something that I think is affecting a high level gameplay. But again, this is one that will, just like the Dahaka W talents, will change. You know, if you feel if you're into, you know, bronze to maybe gold rank, it's just easier to use. So Q is radius is increased, right? Obviously on Light of Carivore, and then now if you hit a hero, you get an increased heal by 40%, and then if you hit 2, you get 80%. So we were talking about it at like level 1, I think you heal for like 600 if you hit 2 people. The 40% heals though is equivalent to 1 proc of your other level 1, where when you use an ability, it hits a hero and then you auto attack, you heal. So technically you can work in more heals with that, and they don't require you to hit 2 heroes. But you know, if you're not working in the autos between every ability, or you know, you get a little flustered, this, when you hit your passive and you hit your Q, will give you a big juicy chunk of heal. So I think this is really good for our lower levels, and it pairs really nicely with the 13 shrink talent on your rail. You know, whoever gets hit by your Qs, like 30% damage reduction or something. Pretty powerful. We also have Dauntless. They're trying to get you to not take the other level 1 talent where you heal after abilities, and they're, you know, now physical armor every time you hit someone with one of your abilities from Dauntless. Pretty good, but I still don't I don't think that it has any merit versus the other 2 talents. So if you're having a hard time working in the autos, I actually think this is pretty good, and it makes landing your 13 even easier. So, and then we have just a 10% armor increase. This is exceptional. I mean, 10% mitigation on top of 40, half of the damage when you're standing in Sacred Ground. It'll make her really hard to kill, especially, you know, if you take this talent here and then you have this and you're standing on the point of mid on, or like you're staying on Braxis's point, right? You hit your Sacred Ground, then you're queuing them, you're reducing their damage, you have 50 armor. It's not going to be easy to kill your rel after these changes. So cool changes overall. So now we're into healers. Ana, W nerf, so cooldown reduced from 4 to 2. Actually, yeah. Oh no. Okay, sorry. That is a nerf. Yeah. So instead of 4 CDR, you get 2, which is nice. The W build was probably working too well. And then we have Overdose, which is pretty cool. Now when you aim down your sight, your Sleep Dart pierces all enemy heroes. So we could see this on, you know, Volskaya, Infernal Shrines, even maybe, like where heroes stack up. There's Throttles, Curse Hollow. We could see this with even paired with Night Terrors, which does an additional 2% now on the max health. I still think that the W build is probably too powerful to give up, but they're trying to, again, push you away from taking those talents. This was an interesting one. Decker Kane, just a full buff, just buffs. More healing, 14 to 12 second cooldown on Heraldric Cube, and mana reduction on it. And then we also have, you know, let's make Ruby a little bit stronger. Let's make Cube Master stronger. Yeah, interesting. Just buffs to Decker Kane. I thought he was in a decent spot. So we have some buffs and some nerfs. So we have a buff to Boombox, which is a good talent in my opinion. Now that the new runoff talent, his passive exists, I think there's a lot of other 7s that are better. But Boombox, you know, getting a health increase doesn't really change the functionality of it. A high 5 with a mana reduction, it's pretty nice. You can cast it more often. Up the frequency, they give it a little 0.05 from your CDs. And then House Party, bonus healing per ally and crossfade or reduce. So they just brought that down by 2%. I think overall, they're just trying to figure out where their new Lucio is at. And these are just changes to kind of, this was probably too powerful, right? This was maybe a little too powerful. But this was a little weak, right? So they're just trying to figure him out. This is probably the coolest. This is the winner of the patch, Rising Storm at 16 on Rhaegar. So obviously we've seen an uptick on Rhaegar since he can Ancestral himself. And now he's got double Lightning Shield back. So when he casts Lightning Shield on someone, he also gets a Lightning Shield. And not only does he get a Lightning Shield, but every time either of the Lightning Shields deal damage to an enemy hero, it stacks up 15 times even. So both of your shields are just doing mega damage now. So this is a pretty cool change. I think one that people really wanted back. So I'm happy about it. It's pretty cool. 10% damage per stack instead of 15. Because obviously you get 2 shields stacking for you. So little Stukov change. We have a move from a level 13 talent to a 1 talent. I don't think that this is going to necessarily change the way the character's played, but the one change that I personally like here is Biotic Armor. Additional 25 armor on your procced detonated bio kill switch is pretty juicy. So I like Biotic Armor in general. I thought Stukov was pretty powerful versus heavy melee comps because of the talent. It basically makes you an Iron Man, right, when you pocket. So an additional 25 is nothing to scoff at. We got a mana reduction on the Flailing Swipe. And then, like I said, these 2 talents have changed. I believe this is the W talent that lets you quest, right? And then this is the talent that pops and deals more damage. And then this one I just laughed at. Just 10 mana to Uther. There's no issues with him. We're okay with Uther. Just 10 mana. What should we do about... Hey, Blizzard, what should we do about Uther? We're reworking him. So let's just give 10 mana to his Q, because no one's going to use him anyways. And then on his new release, when we rework a new Uther, the 80 mana will make sense. I'm spitballing here, but yeah, it's very weird. Should have done. He runs out of mana so fast, man. So we have Abathur. They are trying to push us into going passive build on Abathur. As you can see, we're nerfing the shield talents. We're increasing the locust talents. Right here, more increased locust talents, bonus health. We got bonus duration, right? We got, you know, increased range of Toxic Nest, which is nice. I actually took this talent today because of that. More bombs, more range. You know, and again, nerfs to the shield. So they want you to hat less and siege more. Pretty interesting, right? And then we got Alaric, a little mana change there too, an increase on Q, which is okay because you don't really Q that much on Alaric. You use your E a lot, which is nice. But they did this cool little level level 1. I don't think it changes the E build, but it allows you to W more often. It reduces the mana of your W, and you have an 100% cooldown recharge while you're above 75 health. So it gives you more opportunity to pull in and combo, which is cool. And in some cases, it might be powerful, even enough to maybe not take the E talent at 1. This is something I'll have to play around with. And then the Blade of the High Lord, that's the new talent where I think when you punch people, you get sadism or something. It was too weak, and they needed to be a little bit stronger, so they gave it an additional 10% sadism. Now we have some mana to Butcher, some mana to Zeratul. This is probably good. I mean, his W was heavy. If you cast it, you were pretty much immediately. Emphasis on the Q for Asthma, which is nice because they reduce the other buttons that Asthma pushes. So you're not punished near as much for pushing other buttons, which is nice. But you're punished a little more for casting your W, which makes, or your Q, which makes sense. And then this one is very confusing to me. And this is just them releasing Crumby and her not doing as good as they wanted her to. So they just buffed pretty much everything. Buff, little 10% reduction, but still sizable. You're getting, you know, 35 damage for 10% on your echoes that maybe don't hit all the time. You get a 10 damage here. You get a reduction, or a cooldown reduction here. You get a mana cost here. You get a mana cost here. Then you get damage buff here. Damage buff, right? No longer gives mana, but 5% more damage. Like, a lot of changes. This is them releasing her into the wild. They saw what people were doing and weren't doing, and now they're really, you can see just big tweaks here. Big tweaks. Cooldown increased. Slow increased. Mana cost reduced. You know, the level 11 talent, Gnome Speed Ahead, that gave you mana regen and I think health regen and speed, movement speed. So it just made you infinitely be able to cast Q at all points in time. And they were like, wait, that is dumb, right? That's crazy. They increased the here and there where you no longer could teleport. You know, you used to be able on this talent cast a Q back and then hit here and there, and then you blink to it across the map, right? They increased the range of that because they got rid of it after the remake, and probably people hated it. So they're like, okay, I guess we need to change it. We need to give it something, right? Shifting Sands. This is the spell power per Q hit. We got Fast Forward, which I think reduces the cooldown of your Q every time you hit a Q. Quantum Overdrive. That was hit the big button and do a lot of ability damage, right? And here we go. They're going to increase its CD, but the more Qs you hit, the cooldown goes down more, right? So they really this just goes to show that if they make these reworks on heroes, they're throwing them out into the pit of Heroes of the Storm, and now here they are, blessing is the bronze, right? 90 seconds. It's no longer a passive, it's an activatable, it's a bloodlust. So good changes overall. And then now at the very end of the patch, we have just mana reductions. Mana increases to Hanzo, which is one, feels like the more you cast, the better he is. We have Aetherwalker. E no longer cost mana. So it just takes away mana cost at all when you use E at Aetherwalker. You don't need to take 0 damage in order to do it. That's a pretty cool change. And that could actually push people into taking Aetherwalker. Because if you go Calamity build with this, you can just blink for free, which is nice. Rainer, mana cost. Sergeant Hammer, mana cost, increase. And possession, cooldown, who cares? And of course, we have a mana reduction on Zul'jin. His Q is probably costing too much because you need to use it in order to get stuff out of him. So that's going to be it for this patch. Again, overall, I think Rhaegar got a pretty cool change. We see a big tweak after to Crumby. And we had a little bit of an Anubarak nerf as well. So interesting changes overall. It's cool to see that Blizzard is still working on it. Again, the big thing for me though is this. So how do you guys feel about that? Again, let me know in the comment section below. Appreciate you guys checking out this video. If you enjoyed, make sure to throw a like and subscribe to this channel. If you want to continue to follow me, you can always check me out on Twitch at McIntyre. Shout outs to both Ridgebake and Cylance. Appreciate the support and the sponsors. Until the next video, guys, I'll see you then.